Fallen Goddess Scenario 1.18, Episode 3, Protection and Projection. Responding in unison, all the aeons in the pleroma of the Milky Way observe how Sophia and Enceladus capture the singularity from the originator and configure it into the human genome. Their attention converges on that unique event and erupts like the swell of a chorus performing a song of celebration, a Magnificat. This act of aeonic witnessing is ecstatic. It excites momentous waves of acoustic resonance and triggers full-spectrum rainbow outbursts of color in massive fractal blossoms. The deep, soft, white depths of the pleroma flush into an ocean of mother of pearl saturated with hues of scarlet, electric blue, pale scintillating green, glittering seams of enamel black braiding, and rolling banks of ochre that fold into themselves only to rise again in greater, more consuming waves. To behold a singularity prepared for release is the highest pleasure of the generators. To signal their participation, the other aeons surround Sophia and Enceladus in a spiral dance of immense nacreous eruptions. Like the ribbons of a maypole dance, their streaming currents crisscross and interweave in escalating patterns of fractal complexity. Their intention is to enclose the genomic template in a lattice and fixate its properties by intense concentration upon the sevenfold calibration. For an extra measure of support, they supercharge the factor of sattva, which gives synergetic harmony to the innate faculties of the anthropos. The lattice expands to the boundaries of the pleroma like a cat's cradle of taut, vibrating strings. The cradle is a cymatic brace of resonant tensors of aeonic intention. When the lattice is completed and all activity ceases, the tensor strands glow with the saturate hue of madder, blood violet. The anthropic plasm is ready for projection into the galactic arms. Only one task remains before the aeons in unity conduct this feat of galactic insemination. The genomic template has to be sealed so that when it seeds and emerges in a planetary laboratory, it can retain its original properties and remain stable in its environment through all stages of its propagation. The act of sealing ensures that the anthropos will sustain morphogenetic integrity, the property of self-coherence. This is the capacity of a genomic template to adhere consistently to its innate life plan and hold its boundaries when interacting with other life forms. It protects the distinct properties of the calibration from distortion and intrusion. To achieve this task, the generators invoke the one divine power in their midst that can confer morphogenetic integrity. This is the Aeon Christos, the Anointer. Witnessed and supported by the other aeons and given close attention by Sophia and Enceladus, it saturates the anthropic genome with a gelatine flush of exclusion water. This is the crystalline medium that forms the interface between living organisms and within the cells of those organisms and sets boundaries. This is the act of aeonic anointment or chrismation. Now, finally, the anthropic plasm is fully prepared for projection. To achieve this final action, the aeons in unison concentrate their intention to release it from the cradling lattice. To do so, they siphon the immense plasmic mass into a directional ray, fohat. They commandeer a needle-like channel that goes to the border of the pleroma. This ray acts like a pipette to deliver the amalgam of calibrated nucleic acid to a precise locale outside the galactic core. Out there in the realm of finite possibility, the kenoma, the genome can eventually seed in a favorable habitat. Not once only, but in many divergent strains suited to the habitats that can provide a womb-like shelter. Sophia and Thelete now take command of insemination. For the locale where the anthropic plasm will be nested, they choose the Orion Nebula, M42. This will be the cosmic outpost, like a halfway house, where the anthropos finds shelter and awaits a further stage of propagation. They direct the needle-like fohat across the intergalactic space laterally from the galactic core toward the third spiral arm, counting outward. Then, in a delicate act of aiming, they lower the directional ray to a locale slightly outside and below the spiraling arm. This is the exact position of the great nebula in the constellation of Orion, the Hunter. Sophia and Thelete guide the directional ray so that the immense gelatinous mass of the anthropic plasm can be released in that precise locale. Upon release, the genomic plasm spreads into a transparent gelatinous cloud resembling frog spawn. It settles serenely into the molecular cloud of M42. This is the ideal place for it to find safe harbor prior to its future propagation. The nebula is saturated with water loaded with life-supporting properties, like the amniotic fluid of a maternal womb. As well as a safe haven for the anthropos, M42 is the cradle for many events of kenomic generation independent of the pleroma. It provides the perfect medium for the eruption of solar bodies, suns. M42 is a cosmic cradle of star birth. Among the solar bodies already present in M42 is a tight pattern of 4 young stars, the trapezium. The genomic plasm gathers around these stars and expands into a vast suspension extending over thousands of light years in distance. Once it settles, the template gemmates. It condenses into gem-like droplets, like a pattern of dew on a spider's web. Gemmation is a fractal distribution of nucleic substance comparable to the morula of human embryogenesis. Each dew point holds a complete and identical set of the calibrated 64-unit plasm in a single spore. Filaments of the universal medium of electrical conduction, akasha, surge in and out of the nebula and touch the spores. Sometimes an akashic filament will capture one of them. When it does, it transports the spore out across intergalactic space and into the galactic arms, where it can seed in a planetary system. This is the action of panspermia, the universal propagation of life through outer space. With projection completed, the ray of Fohat dissolves into the kinema, leaving the remnant of an after trail running laterally across the third galactic arm back to the core of the galaxy. The portal of the boundary of the pleroma where it extruded closes and seals now. Sophia and Thelete withdraw into the company of the other aeons. The galactic core will be the observation booth where they remain in eternal vigilance and observe the experiments they have initiated. They are artist technicians who adhere to certain protocols of research, as must be so in all experiments. Otherwise, the proof of success or failure cannot be determined. In most cases of genomic propagation, protocols require that the generators do not interfere in an experiment once it is underway. They merely observe how it plays out on its own terms. In some cases, they may select to terraform. To do so, they operate remotely from the pleroma to establish an Earth-like planetary lab fitted to a particular genome. They customize a planetary habitat in a predetermined way. More often, however, they allow the genomic propagules to seed randomly as solar systems with planets arise and dissolve in the galactic arms. In some rare cases, they do intervene in an experiment in progress. The generators have life cycles like any creature in nature. Sophia is the youngest of the pleromic aeons in the Milky Way, and Thelete is only a little older. She is the 13th aeon, attended by a group of 12, including Thelete, Christos, Bethos, CJ, Ecclesia, and others. She and her male counterpart have learned about the laws and procedures of cosmic emanation, parinama, from observing the activities of the elder veteran generators. The Anthropos is their first experiment together. They know that standard protocols apply to the propagation of their designer species. But freedom and chance are ever-present factors in the cosmic process of parinama. None of the aeons, including the divine parents of humanity, can foresee in advance what will happen next, nor do they desire to know beforehand or seek to control the outcome of the cosmic experiment they have initiated.